Hi everybody. I welcome you to my sacred space that I hang out at. It's had some changes. I thought I'd show you the changes. I had noticed that there's a lot of... I had noticed on YouTube that somehow Google knew that I had done this. And I've been seeing a lot of stuff about creating a sacred space. And it's like, this is just my place to think. I make notes about my poetry and stuff, you know. Show you the changes. Because it's getting colder, I have an interior that goes up. And we put it up yesterday. Got it nice and clean. Still a good place for me to dance and dance trance if I need to. It's complete with, you can't see him, but he's over there, the eavesdropping neighbor. I want to talk to you guys about the 9-herb charm. The 9-herbs charm is an anglo-saxon Old English charm that was recorded around the 10th century. And it is recorded in Old English, which is anglo-saxon. And I had become aware of the charm when I was looking up the Germanic information on Woden instead of Odin to see if anything else in my personal experience had, what could be confirmed. Someone had mentioned the charm. I got really curious, so I looked up the charm. And there was like this nudge, and it was like, hey, you want to translate this charm from the original? You know you do. And I had read some translations, and they looked good, and I was like, okay, yeah, but that sounds like fun, because I like playing with language. So I began what became a 3.5-day journey of translating the charm for myself. Now, I don't speak Anglo-Saxon. Since about age 13, 14, somewhere around there, I have read Middle English on occasion and the older English languages, but Anglo-Saxon I had only kind of touched on, and it wasn't exactly something easy to get a hold of way back when there was no internet, so it didn't go very far. But I thought, okay, this would be fun. And one of the things that people like to do these days, and they'll use artificial intelligence, AI, to translate their manuscripts. I've done it because as much as I would love the funds to hire someone who would translate it correctly and well, I don't have those funds. But in this case, it was just for fun, for shits and giggles. Before I was through the first four to six verses, I realized, wait a minute, this language builds itself like the Algonquian languages, and I got very excited. I would say Algonquian's more complicated, but there's the way some words are built are so close to the way the Algonquian works that I'm excited, because not only is there an English foundation in there so that I have things I can relate to, that it was easier to go into Anglo-Saxon and start diving into it. I will be able to use it as a springboard of understanding to spring over to Algonquian to return to that study. So I'm very excited. I couldn't walk away. It was so fascinating to be going through the language and to be going through this. I have come to the conclusion that the 9-herbs charm is a modified Anglo-Saxon Galder chant. We don't know much about the Galder chants. There's, of course, some recovered information that is out there. Really, we don't really know a lot. There's a little bit that was recorded by visitors, and that's what we've got when it comes to how it was done in the old days. But when you look at the 9-herbs charm, it has a Galdralog format, at least 3 times in there, and it's modified. With Galdralog, you have a base poem style that is a word I can't pronounce. It starts with an L. That you do, the tree with the leaves fell down to the ground, the mole in the hole ate the rind on the grind. You do that for 6 lines, and then you have a 7th line. When you add that 7th line, you've turned it from a I will work on memorizing that word. But the 7th line turns it into a Galdralog. The 6th and 7th line repeat themselves. The wind bent the tree, it fell on the mole's knee. I'm not even going to bother trying to do proper rhyme here now. And then, then you're going to repeat yourself. The tree fell on the knee of the mole. And then if you want to do 8 lines, which I like to do, the tree squashed the mole into the hole. And you have a Galdralog. And a Galdralog is a magic chant. the reason for the repetition at the end is because that is the part where you have built your magic, you have told your story, and now you are working the weird to change fate or change something about the world around you or to enact something. The 9 herb spell has that over and over and over again in it. The original Anglo-Saxon uses the word Galder when referencing the chant itself. Actually, it has I believe it's 64 lines total. The first part of the charm is going through what you're going to say as you grab the herb. And it has prose instructions, and in this prose instructions, the Anglo-Saxon refers to the charm as a Galder repeatedly. Now, I thought about that, and many people would translate Galder as a charm or spell. But I got curious, and I looked into it, and there was more than one word for spell or chant. I think that whoever recorded it, well, they would have had to have been doing it according to the oral tradition, chose the word Galder purposefully. And the fact that the charm has modified Galderlog format throughout it kind of backs up what I'm thinking. So this is my hypothesis. I don't know enough for it to turn into a straight out theory, but this is my hypothesis. I have convinced myself that the 9 herbs charm is a surviving remnant, modified, of a Galder chant. Another interesting thing about the 9 herbs charm was that it calls upon Woden several times, and then about halfway through, or rather near the end, it says Christ stood above all sickness, and then it begins going into only I know of a place of flowing water where the 9 snakes stand guard. Well, they don't stand, slither guard. That's how Odin talks in Havamal. Typical sorcerer boasting speech. So Odin begins boasting in the middle of, or near the end of the 9 herbs charm, but it starts with Christ stands above all sickness. I feel, as do some other scholars, that was actually a replacement. Some people think it could have been added in, but I feel that it was a replacement. That it probably originally read Odin stood above all sickness, or Odin stood against all sickness. And the reason why I say against is because throughout the entire charm, the word against, not with, the word is changed. Against means to strike against, to prevail, to fight. It's a very violent spell. I had another thing I learned through this was about Odin's missing 9 songs. I feel that part might actually have been one of his 9 songs preserved, because it is a charm about sickness and fighting poison. The charm references a lost story of how Odin basically beat a snake to death. You beat that cloaca, Odin, beat it. Until it broke into 9 parts and became 9 separate poisons. I feel that the lost song is encased somehow in here. Maybe it is the charm was inspired from. Maybe the part that reads like the Havamal is actually part of the lost song, or is just flat out the lost song. Or maybe the whole thing is the lost song that had gotten changed by the folklore process through time. But I really genuinely feel that the 9 herbs charm is connected to the lost song, one of the lost songs. People like Simic and others who really know their shit say that you can't just jump to conclusions, and that just because there's this thing doesn't mean that that is the lost song. And I agree that yes, it wouldn't be the lost song, because the folk process changes things over time, which is why we have several different forms of Pretty Polly, and there's actually 2 different versions of House of the Rising Sun. Not just the one version that the animals had made popular. As a matter of fact, the one I perform is a version where I had blended the 2 to get the whole complete story back together again, to figure out what really happened. It's just the way things are done within. It's just that there are references. In the 9 herbs charm, there is one line in there that made me immediately think of the rune that means Odin's breath, because you blow the sickness away, and it says that when I, Odin, blow the poison from you. The best part about going through this spell that makes me just want to give my personal friend, my little Addercop, lots and lots of candles and candy, is what I didn't see in some of the translations was a read of the types of sickness. For some odd reason, some people feel that it's not important. But when you go through that part, it's probably the most potent part of the spell, as you are calling upon the herbs to kick each poison's ass. But each poison is color-coded. When I was working pitch during my shamanic awakening nightmare journey thing, I had gotten to where I was seeing the pitch, and I could see colors, and I had tracked 4 colors, but something in me said there was more, there would be more. I had tracked what 3 of the colors meant. My point is that in the 9 herbs charm, they went through the colors, and black and white were called maddening pitches. And I was like, oh, they even have the meanings just like I had saw. My spirits, the patrons, nudged me to look at this, and lo, there was information and confirmation. That was the best part. It was confirmation. The charm is talking about physical ailments, but it also has a specific area set aside around the physical ailments to cover color-coded ailments. I feel that they were touching upon pitch. It was incredibly exciting to find this. So without further ado, I am going to switch over to the reading that I did with bad audio of the translation that I had put together. And it may or may not be accurate, it may or may not be good, but let me tell you, I learned a lot doing it, and I'll be looking for more stuff to do in the future. I highly recommend it as reading. Really, really excellent stuff. Okay, I'm moving along now.
Remember, Mugwort, what you taught, what you achieved at Reganmill Day. They called you the One, the eldest herb. You have power over 3 and 30. You have power over poison and airborne disease. You have power over the loathsome foe in the land. And you, broadleaf plantain, mother of herbs, you open eastward and are mighty inside. Carts ran over you. Queens rode over you. Over you brides stepped. Over you bulls snorted. You endured it all and struck them senseless. Thus, you have power over poison and airborne disease and the loathsome foe in the land. This herb was named Stune. She sprouted on stone. They call her stiff. She stands against poison. She wrecks the wrathful, purges poison. This is the herb with which the worm wrestled. This has power over poison. She has power over airborne disease. She has power over the loathsome foe in the land. Fly now, poison hater, lesser from greater, greater from lesser, until there's remedy for both. Remember, chamomile, what you taught, what you finished at Alderford, that none from airborne disease succumbed after one prepared well the chamomile brew. This herb is named crabapple. A thiel sent this from over the ocean ridge to counter another poison. These 9 have power over 9 poisons. Sneaking in, the worm ripped and ruptured man. Then Woden took 9 glory twigs, struck the serpents to 9 fragments they fractured. There ended apple and poison, so it would never enter a house. Thyme and fennel, the most mighty 2, the herb created by the clever Lord. When he hung holy in the heavens, he set and sent them to the 7 realms. For the poor and the wealthy, a remedy for all. She stands against pain, strikes poison dumb. She has power over 3 and 30, power over enemy strike and seizures, power over the withering words by men and whites. Now may these 9 herbs overpower the 9 glory-flown ones, have power over 9 poisons and 9 airborne diseases, power over red poison, power over runny poison, power over white poison, power over unbalancing poison, power over yellow poison, power over green poison, power over the dark poison, power over crazing poison, power over brown poison, power over dusky poison, power over worm blisters, power over water blisters, power over thorn blisters, power over thistle blisters, power over ice blisters, power over poison blisters. If any poison comes flying from the east, or any comes from the north, or comes from the west over the people. Christ stood over all sickness. I alone know of flowing water, where the 9 serpents keep watch nearby. May all plants now spring up with shoots, seas burst, all the salt water, when I blow this poison from you. And then it goes into prose directions, which I'm not going to go into here. In one part of the poem, I did say stune instead of the herb, which would be watercress. There's a debate on the watercresses. There's 2 watercresses mentioned in the charm itself. On my blog, which is what you see me rolling back and forth, I showed my translation process.